What's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to Game of the Week. This is your host, SnowyKurama, your coach for the Season 5 Chicago White Sox, as well as the co-owner of the PDL Pokemon Draft League. And here we are for another battle for Season 9. Now, I said battle, but what I mean is two battles. There are two that I just could not pick between, and I wanted to feature them both here in this video. So if you guys are hyped and excited to see that, press that like, hit that subscribe if you want some more of this stuff, even though the season's kind of coming to a close. And let's just go into this battle. We have the Sweet Psyducks, coached by Destiny, my girlfriend, versus the coach of the Breath Mints team, Jake, who is currently undefeated. And Destiny here is a first-time PDL person as far as this season is concerned. And you'll see why I wanted to feature this right now. So we see Cobalion leading off against Piloswine. And what's really cool about this Piloswine right here, Focus Sash. Focus Sash Endeavor, being able to pick off at least one member from Jake's team. 100%. I may or may not have had a hand in how this team was made. I'll just say that. Although I didn't press any buttons. I never do. Ice Shard here to the Torn T that comes out and just U-turns to pick off that Piloswine. We see Landorus coming in, which is pretty much the best Pokemon in OU, at least as far as Gen 7 is concerned, because guess what game it's not in? And Woodhammer brings down the Lando quite a bit from the Tapu Bulu. The Intimidate doesn't come off because it kind of came in first from the kill. But the Tapu Bulu gets strucken down right here from Jake's Flying MZ, Z-Fly most likely, Supersonic Sky Strike. And then we see a Raikou come out on Destiny's side. Escavalier gets to come in here, probably expecting a hidden power of some sort coming out of this Raikou, which he'd be correct. I believe it's hidden power Ice. Anyway, we see the Arcanine come out here, gets knocked off on the item. I believe it is a Life Orb. But we get that HP back with the Grassy Terrain. Torn comes out here. Flare Blitz does a good chunk of damage. But what sucks is that not only recoil, but we also have the Arcanine taking Rocky Helmet damage. So in this case, it's a good thing that the Life Orb got knocked off here, because that would be another 10%. The Arcanine would be at 28, and that's pretty much dead. We get health back, of course, and then Hurricane is able to knock out the Arcanine. Raikou comes out here, and I think we see... Okay, no, we see a U-turn first. And I'm not sure. Thunderbolt comes out here, probably because it was the best move to use against the Torn. Hidden Power Ice would have been better considering that it hit both Torn and Lando, but it is what it is. We see a Hidden Power coming off of the Raikou. I'm not exactly... Oh, it's lefties, so yeah. It can switch up moves. Usually we made this Raikou choice, but not this week. Lando dies, and that is 4 against 3. Whimsicott comes out, Leech Seeds the Raikou, of course. But we see Hidden Power doing half to this thing, so I hope he doesn't try to stay in again. I don't really remember. Oh, Leftovers and Leech Seed, never mind. He can do whatever he wants. As Cavalier comes out, we see Hidden Power again doing... I believe we see a switch here. Switches out to Mienshao, knocks off the Nothing because this thing has the Z move. Fake Out so that we can do some residual damage to this thing. And then we see the All Out Pummeling, which doesn't take it out. It lives on 10. That is the masterful EV that EV spreads that we see from Breath Mints, always wanting to be annoying with having his Pokemon live. Darn him, making his Pokemon live hits. Ironhead ends up taking out the Mienshao. But Shiva here is free to just do whatever it wants, barring a hidden power, in order to kill this here as Cavalier. But we see a Volt Switch coming off. Oh yeah, Lando's dead, so that means he couldn't really go out to that, so that was really all he could do. And charge from the Victini. Victini versus I don't get that name. Five Victor. Okay. Anyway, we see Lucille come out, the Gligar, activating that weakness policy, which kind of sucks, but we see Gligar living that blue flare. I don't know if that was a roll or if the defense EVs were put in the right place. I think blue flare is defense. Maybe it's specially defensive. I don't know, but usually I think Gligar likes to be more physically defensive, but the blue flare ends up not really doing the thing, and then Victini is taken down. Torn comes out, so now it's Torn and Whimsicott versus Gligar and Raikou. We have a weakened to this thing, weakened to this thing, they're both around the same. This thing's about dead, and then we have a pretty battered Raikou. This thing is down on the wire. This game is down to the wire. Hurricane ends up hitting the Gligar, and then we see Shiva come out. Taunt from the Tornadus is not exactly the worst idea, considering that this thing could have used Calm Mind to Calm Mind up, which I'm saying right now that it did have Calm Mind as its last move. So that was actually not really a bad idea, because this thing could have just Calm Minded up and then swept the last two members. But that didn't exactly happen, as Thunderbolt was able to take out this flying burb genie. And now the final showdown between Whimsicott and the Raikou. We see Leech Seed, so it's seeded. Hidden Power is doing a lot of damage. We see recovery on both sides, so whoever dies first obviously loses. And the sub doesn't end up shielding the Whimsicott very well, so it's just a matter of time before the subs can't be put up anymore, or until Jake stalls out this Raikou. And we see all of this stuff. Just gonna go fast. I've got not much else to say besides what I just did. But, oh, and then they're just toxic, but not like it matters. So that's the game. Very proud of Destiny for this. It's crazy to see someone who doesn't necessarily know what's going on all of the time. I mean, she definitely does do some decent plays, like against Steven with the Destiny Bond, Haunter, as well as some niceness that happened in the Island Rumble. But someone who's very new to Pokemon taking down the #1 guy in the league is quite the sight to see. Quite the sight to see. It's actually crazy. So, great game. Down to the wire. Those are the best. Those are what I like to see. So, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right here and load up the next match. See you in a bit. And we are back for Game 2 of Game of the Week for Week 9. We have Balls of Steel, coached by Will, and Steven, who is coaching the Great Batsawudos. Different team from Steven, and kind of see more or less the same stuff from Will. I was helping Steven build for this thing, and we figured that as long as Lucario doesn't come, his Mons will be okay. But he brought Lucario, so that's kind of a wrench in the plan there, but you'll see what kind of happens in this game. I don't really know what else to say besides let's press the play button. We see Hippowdon come out against the Porygon 2. Sand comes up, of course, and Download actually raises its special attack, which is really nice for Porygon at all times. Yawn comes out here. We're seeing the gauge strategies, putting everybody to sleep. Trick Room comes out, of course, because that is the team setup. Everything's slow, and we're Trick Rooming. Ice Beam comes out, does a dick ton to Hippowdon. Although it eats its berry, gets back its HP. Stealth Route comes out, and I think we see a sleepy Porygon 2. Stone Edge does nothing because this thing has great defenses and a Violite. And Steven just decides to keep the Porygon 2 in for some reason. I don't get it. But we see a Whirlwind come out and Gardevoir takes the stage. Not slow enough to outspeed, quote-unquote, the Hippowdon, even though everything was kind of put at 0 IVs for speed and negative speed nature. But the Moonblast does something. And we see a switch from the Hippowdon, seeing how the Gardevoir is actually able to outspeed. So that's a pretty good idea on Will's end. I forgot his name for a second. We see another Trick Room come up from Steven because he needs that shit around. Skarmory gets blasted with a Hidden Power Fire, but Gardevoir takes damage back from an Iron Head. Which was really interesting because this thing usually doesn't run that, but maybe because Steven has the Gardevoir and then other Steel-type weaknesses like the Mamoswine, and then some other things I don't remember, that's probably what the Iron Head's for. We see a Miltank come out, which is really interesting because Steven, I don't think, has used Miltank until this battle. We see a Roost from the Skarmory. Fire Punch, which unfortunately doesn't do a lot. I looked it up later because I suggested Steven runs Fire Punch for the Skarmory and for the Lucario, since they'll be under Trick Room, hopefully. And we didn't really calc out Fire Punch, but we figured since it had, I think it has Return on it, that it would probably just be better to run another physical move. And Hidden Power Fire does, I think, 10% more. Not like it matters too much to something that has access to Roost and can just roost off the damage later. But, you know, things you learn. Things you learn. We see the rocks come out from the Miltank, which will prove useful, of course, because rocks are great. And the Whirlwind brings out the Mamoswine, which we have a knockoff, knocks off the item, of course, always good. Iron Head does some nice damage to the Mamoswine, and ends up living a second one, which is really cool, but you could really just see that it was going to do that from the 38 it did last time. Will was probably hoping for the roll. Stone Edge does nothing, but Life Orb ends up taking it out. So Miltank comes back out, Milk drinks away the damage, and then, you know, this is just a healing turn, which is fine. Fire Punch again, we get a crit 24 damage, Whirlwinding out to the Porygon 2, which gets a boost from download to the right stat, which really rarely happens, I think. Maybe I don't play against Porygons enough, but I think it rarely happens to where it actually gets this attack boost. It usually gets an attack boost whenever I play it, because EVs, or at least the EVs I use, are kind of geared towards blocking the download from Porygon 2 to beat, and Porygon Z for if Porygon Z gets it. I don't really remember. I think we run adaptability on those. Anyway, EVs are used for no boosts. No good boosts. You see the Porygon 2 wake up. Yeah, it woke up this turn. Whirlwind brings out the Metagross, uses Thunder Punch on the Skarmory, which is nice damage. Coco comes out, and that was the wrong mon for Will to kind of bring out that way. Thunderbolt does nothing. That was a great prediction on his part. Steven should have probably realized he would have done that, but is either that or potentially loses Coco. Hidden Power Ice ends up getting rid of the Hippowdon, which is great for Steven. And then we see Lucario coming out. Dazzling Gleam does a good amount to the Lucario. He ends up Nasty Plotting, which will not prove to be very useful to him at this point, since, you know, Steven outspeeds this thing. Bullet Punch does almost nothing because I don't really remember what the spread is on this thing. I want to say that it's just special attack and speed, but something that I learned during the Island Rumble or was really reminded of course, is that Electric Fairy is not weak to Steel because of that electric typing. So that Bullet Punch on that nasty plot Lucario question mark? I don't know. I don't know what the spread was. But we see another Dazzling Gleam, and that's a dead Lucario. So now Steven's, well, really the Fairy weaknesses are gone, but Steven's 2 normal types don't have to worry about the fighting stab anymore, which is really, really nice for him. There's a Heliolisk coming out, which will definitely take advantage of the Sand Veil, because that's what it does. Unless he's running Dry Skin because of Steven's Pelipper that he always brings. But we'll see here. Dazzling Gleam does some damage, of course. Volt Switch almost takes out the Coco, but then everybody loves their Restoring Berries, which got a nerf in Gen 8, but that doesn't affect us here. And then we see Kyurem come out, and this is kind of the turn that really defined who was going to win this match, or who really had the best chance to win this match right here, and you'll see why in a second. So Kyurem's base speed is like 95 or so. Taco Coco, you can see it almost has 400 speed, so this thing going first means it's scarfed. That much we all know. But Steven still has a Trick Room here, which means he'll be able to outspeed this thing pretty nicely. We see Metagross come out, and then that obviously threatens the Kyurem and ways of fighting and Steel. So we send out the Comfey for a reason. Bullet Punch is here. I'm not exactly sure what the reason was. Maybe it's because this thing has access to Hidden Power Fire, and that was kind of his way of dealing with the Metagross. So that, and there wasn't really much else to do besides Whirlwind it out with the Skarmory and take Thunder Punches. Yeah, that was really it. So not much Will could really do against this thing. Giga Drain to get some HP back, but not like it matters because of the Bullet Punch here. And then that's a dead Comfey. We see Heliolisk come out, and it got critted on. Let's actually check if that crit mattered. I don't really know if it did. I don't believe Steven was banded. I know I was trying to convince him to be banded something, but I don't know. So I took the band off, and it looks like Bullet Punch does 23 to 27 just regular, because I think he's max attack, max HP. Looking back, it did 29. Okay, yeah, so judging from that, I think the crit actually did matter. I honestly don't remember what the sets were at all. I want to say he was max attack. I really do. Anyway, it's still a dead Heliolisk. And we see Skarmory coming out. We have Skarmory and Kyurem Black versus the Duck, Metagross, and Cow Lady over there. Porygon 2 comes out, gets the download again. We see Roost, and I believe we see... Nope, we just see Whirlwind. Metagross is back out. We see a Thunder Punch doing its 38 damage. Whirlwinding again, out to the Porygon 2. We see a Roost again. We're probably going to see a Trick Room. Yep. Thunderbolt does a lot. Almost killing it, of course. But thanks to the Sturdy, it didn't, obviously. It's just got one. Iron Head does nothing. Then we see a Thunderbolt come out from the Skarmory. So now it's just 3 against 1. Kyurem Black comes out, and Kyurem here is Scarfed, which means it is the slowest Mon that is still alive. Well, under Trick Room, I should say. Ice Beam ends up doing some damage. We see Stone Edge did nothing, and then Ice Beam wins Steven the game. And that is battle number 2 for Game of the Week. So another double feature. Only the second one out of the entire league. And that was pretty nice. Pretty nice games. Definitely people that were projected to lose based on their record and whatnot did not came out on top, which is great. It's always very interesting to see that, because it's another case of you don't know what the hell is going to happen until it does. So yeah, I actually took the foresight to take screenshots of the stats. Yes, I don't know words. I swear I'm literate. I took screenshots of the stats, so we're gonna get into those right now. Hold on. Let me grab them real quick. Alright, we're back, and the stats you see on the screen are week 9 accurate. I did the stats and then took screenshots. So here we are, the silver kill leader. We have Mega Altaria with 12 kills. Gliscor from Control Altaria delete. Gliscor from the Florida Flygon still having their 8 kills, and then Noivern from the Mawile Mega Mawiles actually jumped up to take the last spot on the kill leaderboard for the silver side. For the deaths, we have Alola Ninetales and Mega Gyarados from Sweet But Psyduck with 7, and then the Uxie from Mawile Mega Mawiles jumped up with them for 7 deaths again. So not too much different there besides the third again. And then the kill death leaderboard, we have Mega Altaria from the Control Altaria Elite with 8, Scrafty from Mawile Mega Mawiles with 6, and then Terrakion from Breath Mints with 6 as well. And that stuff's ordered by first and last, so not first and last, what am I saying? Ordered by alphabetical. So yeah, that's that. Not too much of a difference there besides really the third slots in all of them. And then here for the gold, we have Mega Medicham from Great Batsubudo with 12, Infernape from Chicago White Sox with 11, and then Tapu Koko comes up from the last week with 10 kills from the Great Batsubudo. He is one of the lowest teams, but with the biggest kills, or the most kills, I should say. In the gold death leaderboard here, we have Mamoswine, also from the Great Batsubudo, always wanting to just kind of be on these boards. Mega Medicham, also from the same team, goddammit, with 7 deaths, and then Milotic from the Chicago Mega Gengars has 7 deaths as well. And then last but not least, we have the kill death leaderboard here. Galizapod from the Balsas Field, 7, no deaths so far. Mega Pinsir from the Chicago Mega Gengars with 6 kills, 1 assist kill, and then 2 deaths, which I'm not sure what that assist kill was from, but it was on the sheet, so I don't know. Last but not least, my Infernape is on that board as well with 5, with 11 and 6. And here we are with the total kills, deaths, and then the kill-death ratio. Mega Altaria leads the kill leaderboard with 12, with Mega Medicham following with the same, but then alphabetical order is a bitch. Then last but not least, my Infernape has the 11 for that last slot. Death leaderboard, we have Mamoswine from the Great Batsubudo, then Alola Ninetales and Mega Gyarados as well, with those 7 deaths. And then for the kill death, we have Mega Altaria with the biggest score of 8, Galizapod coming in with 7, and then Scrafty with 6 from Balsas Field and Mawile and Mega Mawiles respectively. So one more thing I wanted to say about the match we had with Steven and Will. It was nice to see that Miltank put in even a little bit of work, even though it didn't end up doing the damn thing like the Porygon 2 did, but it was still nice to see Miltank hit the field for once. And that's really all I have for Game of the Week. Hit that like if you liked this PDL stuff. Hit that subscribe if you want some more. Tell me what your favorite game was this week. And maybe we liked the same ones. Maybe you liked a different one. Who knows? It's free country, goddammit. And with all of that being said and more, this has been your boy, SnowyKurama. See you in the next video. Goodbye.